And we're live. Come here, Waldo. Say hello to the people. Come here, baby. Oh, well. Come on, let them see you. Let them see you. Oh, there's Mars. Let them see your face. Oh, baby. Okay, hi, everybody. Here we are live and in person, and I'm really glad to be here. And my name is Jenna Bosiger, and I'm with Cryptids YouTube channel. And I'm really excited to do this live event and talk about cryptids. The topic is going to be Dogman, werewolves, and the Cynocephaly. We're going to compare and contrast them, see what they have in common, and what the element of truth could be in all the legends. And I'm excited to be here to get some feedback, answer some questions, and hear your comments, you know, because my friends in person, they're not really all about the cryptid research. And so usually if I'm having a conversation about cryptids with them, it's going to be a one-sided conversation because they're not going to know what to say back to some of these comments and research things that I've done about these cryptids. Starting with, well, before I get started, I want to talk about membership. And I really encourage you guys to join up for membership because I'm offering something that is unique and I don't think anybody else is offering this. And it is these interactive hotspot maps. And I've made hotspot maps for each state. And not only that, I've made hotspot maps of mounds in Europe. And so you can see the trail of the mounds and try to get a sense of how they traveled. And I've also made mounds. I think my most coveted map of all is going to be the mounds of the giant faces that I found in the desert. They're huge. And I have found well over 400 of these faces, all the way from the Blythe Desert in California down to the Yuma Desert in Arizona. And I've plotted them all out on these maps. And this isn't something that is public or even recognized as ancient sites or geoglyphs by the government, but I did a little bit more research and I found out that there are a lot of ancient sites that the government keeps secret from the public and they don't talk about it. And I suppose the reason is to prevent people from going to these places and maybe destroying them or just messing them up. And it just keeps people from going there. They're very remote. And well, one time when I went to the faces in Yuma, we had traveled a long way to get there, 4-wheel drive. And we get there and we see this sign and it says, military unexploded ordnances, you know, do not pass this sign. And I just knew that the faces were like right beyond that sign. And so instead of crossing it, because, you know, we don't want to get blown up, we drove up and went over and around and found the faces. Well, on the way back, we're driving down the road and we see the back of the sign, which means I basically risked my life to make this video of these faces. So it's really interesting. You can see the faces yourself. You can measure them and compare them. And so it's a pretty special map. But these maps are made for everyone of all age because, I mean, wouldn't you want to know if you were living in a Bigfoot or a Dogman hotspot? Or if you were going to take your family camping and find out that it's in a reptilian hotspot? And so these places, these maps are great for traveling. There's layers, there's mound sites, petroglyph sites, cryptid sightings, giants, places where giants were found. There's artifacts. And another cool layer is places with the name devil in them, because these places were named for a reason. They're named either after something or something that happened. And so you can turn on and off all these layers and compare the sightings and see if there's like multiple things going on in one location. So they're great for exploring, for traveling, for researching, and just for getting to know your surroundings and being aware like I said, that you might be in a Bigfoot hotspot. You never know. Now, all you have to do to gain access to these interactive maps is join up for membership. And there's 3 levels of membership. There's secret, top secret, and above top secret. And secret will get you 1 map. Above top secret will get you 5 maps. And above top secret gets you all the maps. And there's at least 32 maps that I've made so far and growing, because I haven't finished researching all the states. So if you are a member, I will also listen to your suggestions. If you want me to get on your state and I haven't done it yet, I'll get right on that. And so I really think they're a very cool feature that anybody would have. Now, all you have to do is hit the join, select the level that you want to join at, and then email me at ccytmembers@gmail.com. Let me know which map you've selected or maps, and then I will email you back with the link to the maps. And they're really cool. Like I said, I don't know of any other place that's offering these things, and I have spent a lot of time on them. And membership, I really appreciate it. I mean, I love doing this and I love putting in the work and the effort and the time, but to get members, it just really helps motivate me to keep going. It inspires me to keep going because I'm doing it for myself, but I'm also doing it for you guys. And it also is going to allow me to improve on the channel, buy better microphones, better lighting, and get some technology and test it out in the field. Like I would really love to get a parabolic dish. A parabolic dish lets you hear things off in the distance, like Bigfoot calls or knocks or whatever else is going on out there. And I wouldn't even mind getting an EVP gadget. And EVP stands for electronic voice phenomenon. And instead of going maybe to haunted locations, I would take it to like mound sites, petroglyph sites, and places where these ancient people once were, and see if I can get any responses. And what happens is you get voices coming over this device, and a lot of times it's responding to you. And so I love EVPs. I think that's one of the most cool things about ghost hunting are the electronic voice phenomenon you get. So all of these things cost a little bit of money. And so I would love to buy these things and put the money back into the show to make it even better. All right, so the topic for today is one of my favorite topics. I've got my shirt on representing for the wolves. And the topic is going to be Dogman, the Cynocephaly, and werewolves. Let's compare them, contrast them, and I would love to hear your opinions about them. And in the meantime, I'm going to get this conversation going, starting with the Cynocephaly, probably the oldest known legends of dog-headed men. Now, the physical description of the Cynocephaly is that they have a dog or a wolf head, but their bodies are more like a human's bodies. They've got legs and arms, and they're about 7 or 8 feet tall, and they lived in the land of Canaan. Now, this is a very disputed location that's been fought over from the time it was called Canaan to now. It includes Syria, Israel, Lebanon, Jordan. I mean, this land is very, very desired by a lot of people, want to control it. And it was no different back in the land of Canaan. We'll get into that more later. But let's talk about the most famous Cynocephaly of all. That would be Saint Christopher. Now, what's interesting is Christopher is a very common name here in the United States. And I don't know how many people named Chris or Christopher know that they were named after a dog-headed man. You can look up the pictures online of Saint Christopher, and he was portrayed as a dog-headed man, not by one artist, not by 2 artists, not in one country, not in 2 countries, but every country and pretty much every portrait of him, he is painted with a dog-headed man. Not only that, there are stories of him living with a dog-headed man, and one of the most interesting stories is how he got the name Christopher, Christover. So his real name, his original name was Reprobus. And so as the story goes, he was at this raging river, and along came Jesus, Christ. And Jesus needed to get over to the other side of this river. And the only way to do so was to have this big, strong, 7 foot, 8 foot tall creature, dog-headed man named Reprobus, carry him across the river. And it shouldn't have been any kind of a strenuous feat for Reprobus, but when he was carrying Jesus across the river, or Christopher, Christ over the river, he struggled, and he felt this incredible weight. And so when he got him across the river, he asked Jesus. Now at the time, Jesus was a young boy. He asked Jesus, "Why were you so heavy?" And Jesus responded, "Because you had the weight of the world on your shoulders." And I think that kind of translates into meaning that he had this huge responsibility because of the impact and the importance of Jesus. And so that's how he got his name, carrying Christ over the water. So I start trying to study everything I can about the Cynocephaly and the Canaanites. And I'm using the Bible to learn more about the Cynocephaly. But the thing is, the Bible is hard to study on your own. And all my experience I have of learning the Bible is really just of the New Testament. And the reason that I know anything about the New Testament was because it was on a Christmas. I was in my early 20s, and I get the knock on the door. And guess who it is? It's the Jehovah's Witnesses. And so they wanted to study the Bible with me. And at that time, I didn't know really anything about the Bible. And so I took a very kind of combative approach to it, and I wanted to question them. And they allowed any questions that I wanted. And we studied the Bible. And the next thing you know, I move in with a Jehovah's Witness family. And for over a year, I lived as a Jehovah's Witness, and we studied the Bible every day and went to church, and they would answer all my questions, and I could study whatever part of the Bible I wanted. But at that time, I really wanted to know about the New Testament. And I don't, to this day, know really anything about the Old Testament. I don't know about the creation, about Genesis, Lilith. I have so many questions. And so I'm thinking about going to the Jehovah's Witness church and asking them if they will do some Bible studies with me about the Old Testament, because I want to know about these Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, and what was going on. Why did God not like these other species or races? I think that they were not human. I mean, obviously, if you have a dog head, you're not human. But I have so many questions. And so anybody out there listening, if you know anything about the Bible, please share it with me. I want to know about the creation story. What about Noah? Noah was described as having shimmery skin, being really tall, and living hundreds of years. That is not a description of a human. I want to know about the giants. I want to know about the Nephilim, the seraphim, and the flood, and what was going on back then. So I'm going to take myself into the Jehovah's Witness church and ask if I can start studying the dog-headed man and the Cynocephaly and the Canaanites and see if I can get any kind of timeline to all this. So that's kind of where I am with the Cynocephaly. I really, want to know more, but I need to learn about the Bible in order to kind of gain more knowledge about these Cynocephaly and the giants and stuff. So I'm going to do that. Now, one thing that the giants, one thing that the Cynocephaly have in common with werewolves that I found very interesting is that they're both cursed. So werewolves turn into werewolves, sort of wolf-headed dogmen, because they're cursed. And apparently, God cursed the Canaanites, the dog-headed men. So maybe that's that element of truth, is this curse. Now, something different that differs from Cynocephaly and dogmen, Cynocephaly and the werewolves from the dogmen, is that dogmen don't have a lower body of a human. They're actually described as giant wolves, but the element that might be the element of truth that might be common with the werewolves and the dogmen is this thing about them transforming. So the dogmen apparently are able to transform from a giant four-legged wolf to an upright 7-foot-tall dogman. They don't have a human body, but they have a dog body that's able to stand on two legs. And one of the best eyewitness sightings comes from North Carolina. And I made a short of it. And it's also from the series called These Woods Are Haunted. And I'm just obsessed with this story. My favorite quote from his sighting is, "I heard two distinct popping sounds." I mean, that just gets my curiosity going so much. I love that. So let's get into this sighting that this guy had. So they start off, they're going to go camping in the Pettigrew National Forest in North Carolina. And they get there, and it was pretty late at night. They get there and they find it's a desolate swamp. It just goes on as far as they can see. And there's no trees, and they got a real creepy feeling. They were the only ones there. And so they just decided this wasn't for them. They didn't want to spend the night there. So they get out the map. The nearest civilization and another place that they would possibly consider camping would be east at a place called Roanoke Island in North Carolina. And yes, it's the same Roanoke Island as where the Lost Colony was from. And, you know, if you tie these things together, maybe they got lost because of these dogmen that are prevalent there. And so North Carolina, from the East Coast and, you know, inland, is just swamp, and there's no houses, and it's just desolate. It's perfect location for dogmen to live. And so they are traveling from Pettigrew Forest to Roanoke Island at night when all of a sudden, well, what happened was something broke one of their taillights. And so he pulls over in the dark in the middle of nowhere between Roanoke Island and Pettigrew National Park. And he's looking around, he doesn't see anything. And then he hears rustling in the bushes. And so he looks up, and in the moonlight, he can see a giant wolf creature. And it's got pointed ears, and he can see the fangs glistening in the light. And I had a wolf dog. That's why I have an affinity for wolves. I love wolves, and I love the Dogman. And their fangs make all other dogs' fangs look like cat fangs, especially this part of their fangs. It's made for ripping flesh apart. And so he saw the fangs glistening, and it also had yellow eyes. And so this creature is on 4 legs, but then it stands up. First, he hears the 2 distinct popping sounds. And these 2 distinct popping sounds were actually each of the wolf's legs popping and it goes from a four-legged creature to an upright bipedal two-legged wolf dog man. So he's got this kind of wolf body, but is able to snap his legs into a bipedal position. And if you know anything about wolves, they travel in packs. And he saw another one. And so when he looked at the other one and then looked back at the other one had moved towards him. And that is how packs hunt, very skillfully. And that is just terrifying. But I love that report coming from North Carolina. And, you know, I was studying the state of Virginia, and then I started getting into North Carolina to research for this video. And now I'm just obsessed with North Carolina. I mean, I want to keep going with North Carolina because there's a lot going on. So much habitat. It goes from swampland to forest or woods. And so there's tons of habitat for cryptids. And I found that very fascinating. Another thing about these Dogman reports, there seems to be a possible paranormal aspect to them. And so I tend to think very literally. And so I'm thinking that the Dogman might actually just have these heightened senses, you know, like infrasound and being able to see out of the visual spectrum and things that we aren't really able to explain with science. But another possibility to the paranormal aspect of them is the fact that when the Europeans came to North America, by the 1900s, they hunted all the wolves to extinction. There were bounties placed on wolf scalps, and every single wolf was hunted to extinction. So is it possible that these wolves, these dogmen, could be like wolf hauntings? And if so, even if the dogmen were there during the time of the wolves when this happened and they were able to communicate this, they would have seen what we did to the wolf population, and they would not like humans very much, let's be honest. So it's very possible that these dogman sightings are wolf hauntings because of all of the things that we've done to wolves. So that's sort of where I'm at with all of these dogman and wolf sightings. And what I'd like to know, I have a ton of questions. I'd like to know all about the Dogman, the werewolves, the Cynocephaly, and I'd like to know about what it says about them in the Bible. And there was something about God not wanting to pollute our gene pool of his creation, us humans. And so it's possible that that is a motivation why he wanted to eliminate them all, which he did. It also could be because that was the promised land and he wanted to keep the land for all the humans. But I would like to know your opinion about these creatures. I have a little trouble believing in werewolves, but I do think there's something about them being cursed that could be true, like with the Cynocephaly being cursed. And it's possible that there is something going on with the dogmen and them being able to transform from a four-legged creature to a two-legged creature. So I would love to hear your comments on the topic. And I'm really excited to be here to hopefully interact more with you guys and get your feedback and questions and comments. And I'm going to be doing more lives and hopefully getting more people to join. And, you know, I'm looking forward to that because, like I said, I don't know of a lot of people that want to talk to me about dogmen other than here on YouTube. So that's why I'm sort of reaching out to you guys and hoping that, you know, I'll find my people here who also are interested in these types of topics. Because like I said, when I talk to the friends I know about this stuff, it's a very one-sided conversation, kind of like it is now. But I'm hoping that's going to change as I do more lives and get into more interesting conversations and topics about cryptids. So that's probably where I'm going to wrap it up right now, unless you guys have any answers or questions or comments or feedback. And I'm looking forward to doing more lives, and I'm hoping to get some members to join up so you can get these maps that I've made, these interactive maps, because I think that they're really, like, if you live in a state, wouldn't you want to know if you're in a Bigfoot hotspot or not? Or when you go camping, wouldn't you like to know if you're going camping in a reptilian hotspot? And you can do a lot of research with these and exploring. And so I think they're really cool and useful tools to have for all of that. So if that's all there is, then I'm probably going to wrap it up. And like I said, I'll be back again. I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm looking forward to getting more feedback from you guys. So if there isn't anything else, I'm going to say goodbye here. And until next time, bye.